Hello, nice to see you. Looks like you've got a spare moment or two. Well, I appreciate you spending those moments with me. Today, I'd like to review and go over Uncanny X-Men #1. You may have heard that title before, and that is true. This is not the first Uncanny X-Men. In fact, the last Uncanny X-Men was number 600. And there's actually a mini-series of Uncanny X-Men between that one and this one, so you can see how confusing comic books can be. But they have circled back, as Marvel likes to do, and reboot things, give you a fresh new #1 for everyone to get excited about. I'm definitely excited about it. Before I get into spoilers, I can just tell you that it's an interesting story. The artwork looked great. I usually like the artwork unless the pictures are drastically different than what I'm used to. These pictures look good. You might be able to tell I don't really get into specific writers and artists. I read comic books for the characters and the team. I do sincerely hope that the writers do a good job, and they normally do. Of course, none will ever beat Chris Claremont on the original Uncanny X-Men. If you're an X-Men fan, you should definitely pick this up. If you're a maybe fan that wants a good jumping on place, I think this would be it. There might be some things that you have to look up on Wikipedia in order to understand what's going on, but overall I think it's a nice stepping on point. It takes you through some familiar scenarios that the X-Men are always dealing with, so you will notice that. There's even some good fun parts, good jokes, because you deal with some villains in this particular issue that I really didn't take seriously. And that makes sense because you actually get introduced, or maybe not introduced, but they display the new X-Men, the X-students, like Rockslide and Anol. Characters that have been around for a while, but someone that really hasn't had their head in the comics may not know about them. And you get to learn about them here in this issue. Kitty Pryde actually takes them on a training mission of sorts. So that is definitely real interesting. And then it ends with a shocker, which you'll see later once we start going through the story of Uncanny X-Men #1. I hope you enjoy. Our comic begins with a large battle between the X-Men and the Multiple Man, Jimmy Madrox. And Multiple Man seems to be asking, where is Kitty Pryde? We then snap to the X-Mansion, where it appears as though this battle was all in Jean Grey's head, and she asks, where is Kitty Pryde? She is informed by her fellow X-Men that Kitty Pryde is off on a training mission with the X-students. We then cut to the Blackbird, piloted by Kitty Pryde, as she is taking the X-students to their mission. Rockslide laments in the weak battle that is coming up. He feels that the training mission should push them, and he feels this will be an easy victory. In mid-flight, Kitty Pryde starts to phase through the console of the Blackbird. This, of course, shorts out all the equipment and causes the Blackbird to crash with the X-students still inside. Without knowing what happened to Kitty Pryde and the X-students during the crash, we then cut away to Storm and Beast in the middle of the desert in Africa. Only thing is, it's raining. Raining more than it's rained in 100 years. And Storm can't stop it or exert any control over the weather whatsoever. Very strange indeed. We then see that the X-students did indeed survive the crash. Kitty Pryde is nowhere to be found. They're no worse for the wear except for minor injuries, but they are attacked by the Mutant Liberation Front, including Forearm, their initial target on this training mission. The battle between the X-students and the Mutant Liberation Front ensues. Funny joke here is you can see that Armor considers Wildchild a dollar store version of Wolverine, which is of course very amusing because that's exactly what he is. He was created during the height of Wolverine's popularity, where there was a lot of Wolverine clones, and he was among them, so that's a really funny joke. We then see that Rockslide and Forearm are tussling, and we see that Forearm is informing Rockslide that they're actually not the bad guys, at least when it comes to protecting mutants. That they want to do something about a vaccine that is going to wipe out all mutants. The battle between the X-students and the Mutant Liberation Front continues. We see that Anil is injured, and Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, comes up to him and asks him, where is Kitty Pryde? Anil informs him that Kitty has vanished. And as you see, Jamie Madrox says, he is too late. The battle continues as you see Forearm and Rockslide are fighting. Forearm calls him Kid Thing, and Rockslide comments even during the battle and being punched in the face that, Quad Arms here has jokes of his own. The battle, of course, doesn't seem to be going very well for the X-students. Thankfully, their adult X-Men, or the main X-Men, Polaris, Nightcrawler, and X-23, come to save the day and start to teleport them out of there. Now here's a familiar scene. An anti-mutant senator spouting anti-mutant propaganda in front of a large crowd. Bishop and Jubilee also comment that this scene is oh so familiar to them. Once the senator is done speaking, it's actually time for Kitty Pryde to make her statement, but of course we don't know where she is. Since Kitty is not there to make her statement, Jamie Madrox uses this opportunity to rush on stage and start speaking. As you can see, Iceman and Jean Grey are also at the rally and witness Jamie Madrox kind of flubbing his way through his speech, not helping the cause. Chaos ensues as Multiple Man's many copies start to rush the stage, claiming they can help, claiming that this is important. The X-Men in attendance do everything they can to control the situation and fend off Jamie's copies. Psylocke shows her cool new telekinetic weapons with a sword and shield, which I think is really cool. Jean Grey is able to make her way to the Senator, but unfortunately not before he disappears, much like Kitty Pryde did. Of course, he's not a mutant, so what could this be? Of course, Multiple Man witnesses this and simply states, we're too late. We see Kitty Pryde is in captivity and unable to escape without the use of her powers. Her and the Senator are now in the same place and conversing amongst one another when they are interrupted. Shut your mouth, the girl does not answer to you. Our captors have earned the wrath of Apocalypse today. Don't be so quick to join them, human. As we see, good old Apocalypse himself is also in captivity, on a giant X no less. Who is teleporting everyone here? Why is an anti-mutant Senator, Kitty Pryde, and Apocalypse being held captive? Perhaps we'll find out in next issue. Okay, well, there you have it. Uncanny X-Men #1 ends in a huge cliffhanger. Who would expect Apocalypse to be captured on a giant X along with an anti-mutant Senator and Kitty Pryde? Perhaps we'll find out in the next issue what exactly is going on here. I will mention that there are some short stories at the end of this book called What Tomorrow Brings. It has 3 parts plus an epilogue. I highly suggest you pick up this comic book and check them out. Just some cool short stories that show you what happened to the X-Men leading up to the Multiple Man incident at City Hall. So I hope you pick it up, enjoy it, follow me on this journey as we go through the next issues and go through each story together.